Greetings! This is I, Dracovin, your Lord and Emperor here at the Dracovin Empire, and welcome once more. I hope you're ready to dive with me back into Golarion, the Pathfinder world once more. Whether you're joining me, of course, live on Twitch, over there, I never do that correctly, or over on YouTube when this is uploaded later on. Welcome, one and all. Remember, you guys over on YouTube, I do have to shout this out, appease the dark algorithm, like, subscribe, ring the bell, and of course, leave a comment. And my comment to both you folks, and of course anybody that wants to answer over on YouTube, is the Ulfen people. Have you played one, or dealt with them in any of your Pathfinder games? Because that's our topic today. We're diving into another human ethnicity. Because, yes, there's a lot of humans of a lot of different cultures, and certainly the Ulfen, though they're highly related to the land of Linorm kings that I talked about in a previous video, they're separate enough that they really deserve their own video. Because they are more countries than just there. So, why don't we dive into that, and I'll throw myself over into the corner, and we can start by talking about the various books you might want to look into when dealing with them. And if we're looking into the Ulfen Ethnicity, I would recommend starting with the Campaign Settings book from First Edition. It's the First Edition book I kind of do, and the Inner Sea World Guide. Both of those help define a lot of the human ethnicities and give you some basic information about them. Beyond that, the People of the North is a great thing because it defines them and a lot of the other groups of human ethnicities in the northern lands of Avastian and in general in Golarion. Lands of the Linorm Kings is a great one because, hey, their main homeland is the lands of the Linorm Kings. I can't get away from that, it's true. And of course, the Pirates of the Inner Sea, because Ulfen people, traditionally, a lot less now, were, well, pirates. They were Vikings. So let's talk about them directly, though, because we should dive into some basics about them. Avastian, if you're anywhere along the coastline of Avastian, any coastal city, you've probably heard stories of the great Ulfen raiders that would go up and down the coastlines and mercilessly raid the coastlines in their great longbows. They have been sometimes called Vikings, but they are mostly specific. Viking is a term that's not necessarily Ulfen people, but the Ulfen people have been them. They are fighters and warriors of the Ulfen people that did this raiding. Now, it's not all gone, but a lot of the days of raiding are past for the Ulfen people. Still, nonetheless, if you would look at an Ulfen, they're still renowned for their prowess as warriors. If you are to go to anywhere in the Inner Sea region, any major court, most likely, the bodyguards for the royals or important dignitaries, Ulfen. Ulfen bodyguards are the most highly desired, these powerful and proud warriors that, have a code that keeps them there as your protector. That's why they're important. They have a kind of set of honor in them that's important to them, which means those warriors are so highly prized. Now, if you look at an Ulfen person, as I've got displayed here, they're larger than your average human. In comparison to a lot of other humans in all of Golarion, they stand around 6 feet tall, average, for a man, and just a few inches shorter for a woman. Their skin is pale, and their hair color tends to be blonde, straw brown, red, and both of them will wear this hair in braids, both men and women. Women tend to have a little bit more elaborate braids than men, and then men will also frequently wear beards. Cold region, beards help. Of course, because they are from, in general, cold regions, yes, their clothing is very tailored for cold environments, and fur is a very common material in a lot of their clothes. Their clothes are decorated with jewelry shaped like braids made out of horn, ivory, bronze, and silver, and necklaces are often made of narwhal horn, knit with ivory, or amber. Now, we do have to talk about the Ulfen people, and we will relate this to a degree to the lands of the Linorm Kings, because it is a main homeland of them. But they are explorers and colonists. Beyond that, they're not just raiders, as they once were. King Ulavast of Kalisgard founded the colony of Valenhall in Arcadia, the continent, in negative 473 AR. And this still exists there. So there's a group of Ulfen people over in Arcadia. And this is a final destination for the lords of the land of the Lenorm kings. Once they're reaching the end of their time as a king there, they attempt this lengthy and dangerous journey to the colony at the end of their lives. It's a spiritual destination for their bravest warriors, because these were their bravest people that crossed the great northern oceans to travel to Arcadia to form this colony. So, yeah, it has this kind of spiritual aspect to its existence, though it is just a location over there, too. And maybe there's some, like... It theoretically is a physical place, so keep that in mind, that there are sometimes scholars will debate whether it exists or not. But regardless, the idea of it exists within their minds. Now, we skip ahead time-wise to the 700s AR. Ulfen explorers are heading out to various places, and from Avastian, they immigrated east along the southern ridges of the crown of the world, the big glacier pattern at the top of the planet, to the continent of Tasmaron. There they founded the nation of Iborian. They traveled east to the Lake of Mists and Veils until they reached the Castrovian Sea, and Sprouted attempted to subdue the new hostile environment. Orkamar was the first settlement in the east of the lake, and was founded about 752 AR. It spawned the city of Orlov, which eclipsed its predecessor in 764. And in 905 AR, the ruler Ivor the Potent of Orlov succeeded in unifying Ulfen and Iborian into a single realm. So Iborian is now a land there, and, it's farther east than a lot of other nations. And you do have a number of cities there. So, and they exist today, And my board kind of has changed over to a new system. Things happen a lot in that area, so we can talk about nations and stuff in that area at a later date. But you can see that colonization spreading from the lands of Lenorm kings, which is still there, is a big part. Now, coastal raiding did continue for quite some time. Their ability as raiders, especially ocean-based raiders, is notorious. And, turns out that a lot of those connections carry true. Whether or not some people settled, conquered, entered into these areas, the western coast of Avastia, if you're anywhere along there, it's said that most people have a little Ulfen blood in them. Because the Ulfen raiders would go up and down these places, raid, stay, trade, all these kind of things. They were up and down those places, And they went as far south as the western coast of Garund in early 1218 AR, and the western coast of Cheliax was raided heavily at 975. The experienced raiders would often nicknames based on their skill sets or feats that they performed during raids. They'd also include animals that are prone to the lands of the Lenorm kings, homage to the place that they come from, a sign of respect to Gozra, and they will often make small sacrifices to Gozra during the raids to ensure safe travels and calm seas. Now, we get to a thing that relates to the lands of the Lenorm kings, because it is both a heavy moment for that nation and a heavy moment for the Ulfen people as a whole, and that was about 1400 years ago when, in 3313 AR, the Witch Queen Baba Yaga invaded there with her ice trolls and fae in the Winter War and carved out Irisin in those lands. We'll talk about Irisin in a future video. Yeah. The violent raids conquered that part of their lands, their ancestral lands, and marked a marring point on the Ulfen people. And of course some other things have happened, for Ulfen people. A Lenorm king, White Estrid, smashed the Chels blockade in 4704 at the Arch of Eredin and sailed into Absalom, displaying traditional Ulfen spirit. But now just a general idea of the Ulfen people and their spread of culture and connections to a lot of lands as explorers, colonists, raiders. So plenty of times, hey, I'm going to this place, we've raided, someone might stay behind, or something, someone might, find someone they care for there. Cough, cough. Culture. So the thing about Ulfen culture is it has a reputation for savagery at face appearance. But they have very high, deep values that go beyond that. Appearance is an important thing. The braids in their hair, having long flowing locks, dress themselves in the best furs they can afford, usually ermine, minx, fox. That's the thing is, appearance is incredibly important to them. That's but you wouldn't understand it by just thinking them as savages. And a lot of their people are sailors, traders, still raiders. Most living in Irsen are raiders. But many have a sense for adventure. And, it's that frozen lands they come from don't foster the timid. So plenty of Ulfen travel out into the world as an adventurer. Now, specifically, there's a lot of roles within Ulfen society that don't really have a connection to gender. There are some general gender roles that you kind of are seen to kind of fit if you get into them. Farmers, trappers, fishermen, laborers, they could be whatever. But if you are a male Ulfen and you're kind of seen to becoming rangers, or if you become a priest, you're seen to you're expected to go to deities like Torag, Erastil, Grom, and if you're a druid, regardless, druids of Desna are kind of important. For women, if you go to be a priestess, Desna or Torag are what you're expected. So, druids of Desna are kind of in the middle, but again, it's more that the deity you are beholden to is also gender related to a little bit, because they worship a bunch of different genders. If you are a woman, you are expected, it's not given, you don't need to, but you're expected to be a priestess of Desna or Torag. You can both be Torag. While again, the males, Torag, Erastil, Gorum. There are some women who become wind sisters, which is an important part of a special type of warrior who use aerial mounts and fly to isolated settlement to isolated settlement. They are the first line of defense against aerial threats. So, Ulfen warrior women are kind of important here too, as some of them are these wind sisters, which is specifically a role kind of given to them. Again, usually, not always, slightly smaller, probably slightly less heavier frame, better for aerial mounts. I'm going to say, less weight better. Generally speaking, not always, physically, that's the kind of general average physical difference between men and women. Look at the average of us as people on Earth. Generally speaking, women weigh a little bit less than men. Turns out that's really good for aerial mounts where weight matters. So most Ulfen will speak Taldan, but they will also speak their own language, Skald, a lifting tongue of long, complex words. Some female common names in the Ulfen people are Grunda, Heg, Ingrid, Sign. Common male names are Dines, Ostog, Skvak, Kalak. So competition is an important thing with Ulfen people, and especially the men love competition, but really anybody can be involved. Athletic variety is very important. Consumption of alcohol. The athletic competitions are often held at the start of winter or the beginning of spring, and can involve climbing ice walls, throwing pieces of timber, pulling sleds, throwing axes, running on foot or in snowshoes. Rowing and sailing competitions are popular. Swimming is not. Drinking competitions generally involve boasting who can drink the most or the quickest. Visitors who witness contests have given basically men having a reputation of being boorish louts, which isn't really undeserved for those that participate in these. These contests, though, only happen during special feasts, and anyone can engage them outside of these festivals are roundly mocked or ridiculed. So basically, if you're not having these drinking contests at a festival, you're made fun of. There's a time and a place for drinking yourself shit-faced. Festivals. Keep that in mind. So personal honor and sworn oaths are greatly valued by the Ulfen people. Remember, I said, Ulfen bodyguards are a group of people that are incredibly valued in the south, in the Inner Sea region. This is because they have an honor, and they swear oaths. So if you get an Ulfen bodyguard, he's sworn to protect you, as long as you keep that, whatever contract you had with them, going, they will be loyal. They value that. Duels are also a popular pastime. They're generally practiced with axe and shield, where the contestants fight in a closed circle and attempt to either break the opponent's shield, push them out of the circle, or sometimes even kill the opponent. Duels are quickly forgotten. Feuds, on the other hand, are more serious and can arise as matters trivial as best to mend nets or fishing rights over lucrative salmon spawn. Feuds generally involve whole families or even clans and can involve cattle raiding, too. So Ulfen traditionally keep thralls. They're a type of slave who serve them for a set amount of time, after which they are set free. So thralls are either captured in battle or condemned to service from committing a crime by a special court known as a thringmon. Certainly speaking, the battles switch nowadays, raiding doesn't happen as much, that kind of thing. No Ulfen, not even chiefs or jarls, are immune to this punishment given a serious enough crime such as killing a child, betraying fellow warriors, or breaking an oath. Childs born to thralls are always free, and thralls may file complaints against cruel and unfair treatment by their masters. This is generally done very cautiously, however, it brings great shame to the master and often invites retribution. So, yeah. So, and unlike most cultures, here's an interesting thing. Ulfen don't consider the curse of lycanthropy to be especially dishonorable. They believe it a blessing by the nature spirits, and during periods of full moons, those who suffer from the curse are locked in special longhouses or spirit houses, which are barred with silver and stocked with enough food to afflict the person's ravenous appetite. Yeah. There's a skald. So, yes, if you're looking for an Ulfen person, you can encounter them in the Inner Sea region. Certainly in their homeland and the lands of the Linnorm Kings. Some can be found in Varisia, in the Arcadian colony of Valenhall. The peasant population of Irisen is traditionally Ulfen descents, but they're from those that lived before Yaga conquered the land, and their culture has basically been kind of stripped from them in a lot of ways, from their western kin, by the control of Baba Yaga and her kin. There is some direct presence in other areas of the world because of their history of colonization and exploration. Ulfen blood is found in a lot of places. The horsemen of Valentiu, uplands, and Varisia are descended primarily from Ulfen settlers and Varisian natives of the area, with some even Shuanti interference. Of course, the Iberian people are descended from Ulfen explorers. The Ulfen Guard is a notable organization of Ulfen warriors in Kaldor, where they're charged with restoring the safety of the nation's Grand Prince. It was originally funded in response to the assassination of a Grand Prince Jalrier in 3129, and have served dutifully ever since. So there is a particular group, military, in Kaldor of Ulfen descent. But there you go. There's the Ulfen people. And they are an interesting people. And yes, certainly speaking, they are heavily tied to lands of the Linnorm Kings. But I thought because there is enough difference about them, enough diving into their unique culture that spreads throughout their colonies, that I felt like it was appropriate to talk about them on their own. Because certainly from this land where they originated, they have spread out a lot. There is this Ulfen influence in a lot of places. They are colonizers, they are explorers, they are raiders. Ulfen colonies popped up in a lot of places they went and raided. Ulfen settlers showed up in a lot of these places and, yeah, settled down. So that Ulfen blood spread very far. And yes, it's probably minor in a lot of places, but it might mean that, someone in your family in, Cheliax is particularly tall and has blonde hair. Maybe great-great-grandfather was Ulfen. You never know. Or great-great-grandmother came with a bunch of settlers to this place that maybe started out as Ulfen and integrated with the locals. Because that's kind of what they did a lot. They kind of moved to places, integrated with the locals and stuff. And there are some places where it's uniquely Ulfen still. Because they were the people that settled that area. But this exploration, this travel, this sense of adventure still remains with them. And yes, the idea of being raiders, these ancient pirates, is a little bit there. But it's more... they kind of just have it in there, in their blood. With Lenormand King White Astrid doing what, she did really not long ago, it goes to show it's still very deeply tied to her people and their people. So, yeah, it's not gone. It's just that they don't do it so much anymore. It's not reasonable at this point in time in history. They understand in general. Like, the Queen did that, the King, White Astrid, Lenormand King, she did that because it was basically a show of stuff. Breaking the blockade, going to Absalom. We're still daring. We're still the Ulfen people that we always were. We're still the people from lands of the Lenormand Kings. But yeah, now it's trade, exploration. A lot of those connections with the world are different now. And the Ulfen people still have that sense deep within them. That sense of honor, that sense of warrior spirit. Because you live in an area that's harsh and tough. They've always lived in these northern reaches. Where things are dangerous and deadly constantly and dealt the cold and the dangers there. Which have formed them into the warriors they are. Regardless of where they go and settle, that warrior blood remains within them. And it is an important part of their people. Anyway, I'll leave it there for today. If you enjoyed this video, remember to check out my other stuff over up on YouTube, whether you're catching this live or not. The normal schedule for live, though, before it goes up on YouTube, is Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, early to mid-afternoon, Saturdays, a backup day. I go over usually Pathfinder stuff on the Thursday, if you want to join for those days. I do other stuff over on Twitch. That's most of my gaming-based stuff, and variety stuff doesn't go up on YouTube. All the tabletop stuff does. But if you do, I do actually have a live play Pathfinder 1st Edition on Wednesdays, currently, as of the time of this video, 9 p.m. EST. So check that out. Crimson Food. Very fun. And then, of course, discuss tabletop Saturdays at 6. That's the other content I do. All that stuff goes up on YouTube, and that one, news will be deeper discussions. I have social media linked below. Check those out for schedules, updates, chat video pictures, that kind of stuff. Anyway, I'm going to go. I hope you all had a very wonderful day, and until the next time we chat about Ulfens, or human ethnicity and ancestry, and country in Golarion, or any other tabletop topic, I bid all of you out there a deep and wonderful farewell.